I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for attending today's session. We appreciate your contributions to CLSI and believe that these process changes will improve the overall volunteer experience going forward. And at this point in time, I'd like to turn things over to Dennis Ernst, our chairholder of our Consensus Council.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome to everyone who's listening in today. You know, as chairholder of the Consensus Council, we rely heavily on the input that we receive from our expert panels, and we realize just how critical you are to the success of the organization. So first off, I want to thank you for the time that you spend at expert panel meetings and the work you do in between those meetings, all out of your dedication to quality patient care through quality laboratory practices. I speak on behalf of my fellow Consensus Council members when I say that without your expertise, your proposals, and all your other contributions, CLSI would be hard-pressed to accomplish our mission. So thank you for all you do, and especially for taking time out today to attend this webinar. So as you see here, our objectives today are twofold. I want to provide you with an overview of 3 recent changes to CLSI's standards development process, as you see here, and then Dave Sterry will come on after me to demonstrate the use of CLSI Exchange for voting on proposed draft documents and for commenting on them. The first of 3 changes to CLSI's standards development process is probably one of the most aggressive changes the organization has made to streamline the document development process. Now, as you might imagine, turning out documents in a timely manner is one of the most mission-critical aspects to what the organization does, so we monitor progress on documents closely. But the problem has been that while we monitor progress, we haven't been doing much about keeping the timeline to a minimum. It's not been unusual in the past for documents to take 5, 7, even 10 years or more to be developed. Now that causes huge problems for the organization on many levels, so my committee has been tasked by the Board of Directors with re-engineering the document development process in a way that substantially reduces the time a document takes to be ready for publication. My committee has had many long and arduous discussions on how to best accomplish our task, and believe me when I tell you that we've left no stone unturned when it comes to strategies and ideas. There were no sacred cows, and I think we explored just about every possible angle and tweak in our discussions. The only reason we could do this is that the Consensus Council is deep in experience as DDC members. I'd even say that with only a few exceptions, everyone on my committee has been heavily involved on many document development committees, so we know what the challenges are to turning out a document in a timely manner. So I'm happy to report to you that we've created a pilot program with a variety of strategies to see how they impact the timeline, and we're in the process of implementing them on selected document revisions. So here are the goals that we hope the pilot program accomplishes. We hope that they allow for greater flexibility in setting timelines for achievement of defined milestones, that they implement alternatives to traditional CLSI document drafting practices, and they speed time to publication. One of the highlights of the program is that we're giving DDCs more control over the process, but within certain well-defined parameters. We're letting the DDCs set their own timeline, for example, starting with project approval and ending with the preparation of the proposed draft vote. By infusing other new features that I'll talk about in a minute, we think that this will enable DDCs to turn out a proposed draft in less than 18 months. But rather than set a timeline for the DDCs, we're letting the DDCs set their own realistic deadline as long as it's 18 months or less. And we consider the timeline to start when the work begins, which would be during the face-to-face or before. Our thinking is that deadlines are more likely to be met when they're established by the DDC than when they're imposed on the DDC. And to help with that, we've also want the DDC leadership to set up milestones of progress at or before the face-to-face. I think everyone realizes that when we have incremental goals, we're more likely to reach the ultimate goal. Okay, so because meeting the timeline is so important, we want the DDCs to establish their web conference schedule right up front, no later than the face-to-face meeting, not periodically throughout the process. Establishing a schedule of 90-minute meetings right up front will save many weeks, even months of delays waiting for members to respond to polls for their availability all throughout and along the development timeline. Next slide, Dave. We're also going to introduce a new position on the DDCs that we're calling an administrative vice chairholder. This person's job will be to keep the meeting running smoothly and efficiently. Now, this is in response to the overwhelming consensus on my committee that, hey, not every DDC chairholder is skilled in meeting management. We've all sat through meetings in which the agenda was allowed to get off the rails. It's frustrating for everyone and a real threat to the timely delivery of a document. This position can be held by the chairholder, but it doesn't have to be. The bottom line is that we want a person who is skilled at meeting management to keep the web conferences on track, to pull back when discussions are going down rabbit holes, and to make sure writing assignments are turned in on time by constant between-meeting communications with those from whom deliverables that are due at the next meeting are expected. We're going to also try out the implementation of a quarterly reporting process where the DDC chairholder or designate submits a report to the Consensus Council chair telling us how the DDC is doing on meeting its milestones and if there are any obstacles that need our attention. We've developed a template for that report, so it shouldn't take too much time for the chairholder to complete and submit it. Next slide. Another highlight is that we want to experiment with the introduction of a technical writer to the DDC. That's because we realize one of the greatest and most frequent problems that cause documents to languish way beyond their projected completion time is that writing assignments don't get submitted on time. Now, we understand the nature of volunteers and that sometimes a person's work responsibilities has to take priority over volunteer activities, even when there's a looming volunteer deadline. This also recognizes that not all DDC members are good at or comfortable with writing technical passages. But if a technical writer is available to assist with the writing, it just might help ensure DDC deadlines are met and agendas can be successfully satisfied at every meeting. With a technical writer, we hope it will also eliminate the need for a one-voice edit, which often delays the preparation of the proposed document for voting by, 2 months or more. So as you see on this slide, the decision to use a technical writer is going to be made in consultation with the committee leadership. A technical writer can be a CLSI volunteer or a professional technical writer. And the technical writer will be contracted by CLSI to complete a defined scope of work according to the established timeline. Next slide, Dave. So those are the major strategies we're going to be piloting, and these are the documents we'll be selectively implementing them on. 2 EP revisions, an NBS document, and a QMS document. We're taking a very open-minded approach to these pilots and not necessarily limiting it to just these 4. So if something comes up that is especially suited for something else, we'll certainly consider it. Okay, next slide. Our second change in the standards development process is the establishment of liaisons between the Consensus Council and the expert panels. It's our desire to increase the communication pipeline between us and you so that we can better serve you and vice versa. Next slide. It was a conscious decision on the part of the Council to avoid appointing a Council member to liaise with a panel in which they have the same expertise. That was purposeful and deliberate. That's because we trust the expertise within each expert panel and we don't feel it's necessary to add more expertise. Rather, the goal is to enhance our interactions with the expert panels and improve our communication. I'll discuss more about our roles in a minute. On the next slide, we see what the appointments are for liaisons for each expert panel. Keep in mind, council membership changes, sometimes unpredictably, so this list will likely undergo constant revision. But whenever your liaison changes, we'll certainly let the expert panel leadership know. On our next slide, you'll see the roles of the Consensus Council liaisons is to provide advice on project proposals and document development processes, attend expert panel meetings as requested by your invitation, communicate expert panel successes, challenges, and concerns to the Consensus Council, update the expert panel on Consensus Council activities, so we want this to be a two-way street, and to summarize highlights from CLSI's CEO's State of CLSI report that we receive at every meeting of the Consensus Council. Next slide shows the roles the liaison will not be expected to perform, and that includes providing technical expertise or to participate in technical discussions, decisions, or activities. That's because the liaison will not have that expertise. To develop or pre-score project proposals is not going to be one of the roles the liaison will have, nor to justify decisions made by the Consensus Council. All right, next slide. Lastly, then, before I turn this back over to David, we've made some changes in our standards development policies and processes to allow for expert panel voting. Next slide. This became effective this month and allows expert panels to vote on proposed drafts of documents that are in their area of expertise. So when a document's ready for proposed draft voting, we'll invite the relevant expert panel to vote as well. However, the expert panel member only gets one vote. So, since all volunteers have to also be CLSI members, the same person cannot cast one vote as an expert panel member and then another vote as a CLSI member. Our hope is that this increases the scrutiny that our documents are subjected to prior to publication, that it provides a greater constituency involvement with the document, and allows the expert panels greater ownership in the documents that are under their purview.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn this over to David Sterry for his portion, and then I'll come back on to answer any questions on what I've discussed so far at the conclusion of the webinar. David?
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Just give me a minute here to set things up, and I'll be ready to go in about 30 seconds. Okay, for the voting on Exchange, I wanted to start with accessing Exchange. Most of you should be familiar with getting onto Exchange. If you have not, from our website, click on the Access CLSI Exchange or Access Your Committees button, which will take you to this screen here. As an active volunteer, you should already have an account for Exchange set up. If you've never accessed Exchange while serving on your expert panel, all you need to do is to create a password. And to do that, you just need to click on this link, forgot or don't know your password, click here, and that allows you the ability to create your own password. You no need to sign up for an account. So once you log in to Exchange, this will list all of the committees on which you participate. And for our demonstration purposes today, we're using a test committee that we set up. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the list of ballots and where to find them. So from your home page for your committee, you will see that there will be a comment/vote tab that's been added to the ones that were already there. Click on that. And then over here on this left side of the screen, you will see a tab or a button for ballots. Click on that, and that will show your list of ballots that are currently available. Now, keep in mind that you will only receive ballots for those documents that are applicable to your expert panel. Okay? So, when a ballot is created, you will receive an email similar to this that says the ballot is available. It'll tell you what document it is for. We've created a pretend ballot for today using Auto 10, and it'll tell you the question will be, should Auto 10 proposed draft be approved? It will let you know what the closing date is, and it is telling you what your description is, that you're receiving this as a member of the expert panel, et cetera, et cetera. And then to actually access the ballot, you click on either this vote tab, or you can click on the ballot title above. Okay, and then this is the actual ballot itself. You only get to, you must choose exactly one option of the ballots, and your vote may not be changed once it has been cast. And the results of your vote will be listed below and viewable by members of your expert panel. Okay? So say you want to accept the document, accept with comments, reject, and abstain. If you do submit a reject vote, we expect comments to explain the reasons for rejecting the document. So say we want to accept with comments, and of course, if you're accepting with comments, we expect comments on that as well. You have a couple of options for submitting comments. I'm going to demonstrate how to attach a comment table, because a comment table is provided, as you see down below here. On the ballot is the comment table for this document and the actual document itself. They are all attached to the ballot. You can get them there. And I have downloaded the comment table. I've marked up some comments. And so I've put some comments in here. For the comment table, please add your name and your affiliation, what type of comment it is, where it's located, page number, paragraph, line number. The document that you receive for voting will be in a PDF format, and it will have line numbers in it. So you'll be able to identify for those, for the Document Development Committee, easy location and identification of the text on which you are supplying comments. In addition to your comment, provide a proposed change. As an example, a new edition of ISO 14971 has been published. Update this document to the 2019 edition, or correct a spelling error. But don't provide a comment that just says, this section is confusing, rewrite the section. That's kind of open-ended, kind of vague. The Document Development Committee will struggle with this type of a comment because they may think it's clear, they may not know it's confusing, and they may spend a lot of time rewriting something, and the commenters still may not be able to understand it. So please provide suggested comments and proposed changes. So when it's time to upload your comment table to the ballot, so you're going to attach a document. We've submitted a vote of accept with comments, and we're going to attach the document. And upload a new document. We are going to choose the file. And it is this file right here. It's a draft, and it's going to go into the Documents folder and click Submit. And as you can see, the comment table now is attached to my ballot. And now that the comment table is attached, my vote is recorded. I can cast my vote. And now, as you see on my ballot, it says I have voted. So I will not now be able to submit a vote, and it tells me when my vote was cast. Okay? In the event that the voting period is 60 days, and in the event you don't cast your vote within the first few weeks, you will get a reminder email. And the reminder email looks very similar to the voting email, but it's just it says at the top, reminder, please cast your vote on the ballot, blah, 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 and here's your due date. Once you have voted, you will not receive the reminders anymore, but until you vote, you will receive the reminders. Okay. And that's the voting demonstration for Exchange.
A question, please.
Yes.
You illustrated an upload which had a change in name from the original comment table. You added your name and the date. Is that standard practice to follow?
You can add your name. It helps us sort through the comments as they come in. As you may not be aware, after the conclusion of the proposed draft voting period, all the comments from the DDC, the CLSI delegates, the general public, and now the expert panels are all compiled into one comment table. And once the DDC has resolved all the comments and completed it and filled out the comment table, the commenters receive their own comments back with a notice of appeal as part of the voting process. And it helps us then sort out whose comments belong to who to send them back during that appeals notification. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the voting process?
This is Ravi Shah. Just one question. Will everyone be able to see what others have voted, or would that remain only towards the end, so to avoid any kind of biases in how someone might follow someone else's decision?
The votes that are submitted will be visible, so
Okay.
you will be able to see how the others on the expert panel are voting. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions for Dennis on his portion of the presentation?
I have a question. So you're going to upfront schedule web conferences for the original document development, and they're going to be 90 minutes long?
What we recommend is that the Document Development Committee establish its web conference schedule right up front. And we recommend that the web conferences are scheduled on a monthly basis and that they are scheduled for 90 minutes in duration. This is to allow for the necessary discussions and decision making and to maximize productivity. We understand that not all committee participants will always be able to attend the full 90 minutes. However, agendas can be designed to accommodate content review and
That's a really long, I mean, everybody, runs a lab or has a, has a staff to, accommodate, and that is a long time, to be on a phone call. But, that's just my personal take.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know how other people feel if that's long.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Donna. And we fully understand that not everybody is going to be able to commit to that just by the nature of what you do. But in our effort to streamline the process, we want to maximize productivity once we get everybody together, fully realizing that some people are going to have to fall off. Mm-hmm. If there's any other questions, yeah, go ahead.
Lori Bachman, I have a question about the technical writer. So I'm just wondering how that will logistically look. So what typically happens is that, the document will have several sections, and different individuals are working on different sections simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And so when does the technical writer come into play, and are they assigned to work with different subsections of individuals or individuals in particular? Are they really working for the, during the one voice edit time? I guess I'm not clear as to when they will be engaged.
We're approaching the use of a technical writer with a lot of flexibility. It's our hope that we enable or empower the Document Development Committee to engage a technical writer if it's believed that the writer will help facilitate the development process. The technical writer would attend the committee's inaugural meeting and all web conferences. He or she will work with the subject matter experts, i.e. the Document Development Committee members, to ensure writing assignment deadlines are met so that content is available for review during the scheduled web conferences. The technical writer is also going to work to ensure consistency of concepts, terminology, and syntax throughout the document. So, therefore, as the draft approaches the proposed draft vote, it will be automatically already written in one voice. The technical writer role should be viewed as an available tool to help a committee achieve its milestones.
Yep. Yeah, and so it would be up to the Document Development Committee chair or co-chair to kind of figure out the priority of the technical writer because they're setting the different milestones. So.
Right. Okay. So they're going to be developing milestones, and we want the technical writer to be involved to the extent that the DDC leadership wants them involved. We just want to make that tool available, that asset available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to attend this web conference. Appreciate all of your good questions, and I look forward to our new process changes taking effect and hopefully improving and enhancing our volunteers' experience with CLSI. So thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.